There are compliments that women hear every day, and then there are compliments that go straight to their core, the kind they can't resist. That is what we're talking about today, my friend. Let's talk honestly. Most men keep giving women the same tired lines. You're beautiful. You look great. You're stunning. These compliments bounce right off a grown woman. A woman in her 40s or 50s has heard all of that for decades. It does nothing. It doesn't touch her. It doesn't move her, and it definitely doesn't make her feel anything deeper. But there is another level of compliment, the kind that hits her scent, her energy, her mind, her presence. Compliments that speak to who she is as a woman, not just what she looks like on the surface. And when a man knows how to use these compliments the right way, with calm confidence and masculine intention, something shifts. She feels seen, she feels desired, and she feels a spark she cannot ignore. That is what this video is for. Today, you will learn 10 forbidden compliments that women can feel, in their body, in their mind, and in their heart. Compliments that are subtle, mature, and powerful enough to stand out in a world full of empty words. Use them wisely, and you will create a connection most men never even get close to. Let's get into it. Number 1. Your scent pulls me in. Listen, my friend, let's talk like grown men for a minute. A woman in her 40s or 50s has heard every basic compliment on earth. You smell nice. That perfume is lovely. These lines are forgettable. They land flat because they only describe the surface. But when you compliment a woman's scent the right way, it does something entirely different. It touches memory, emotion, and desire all at once. Scent hits the limbic system, the part of the brain tied to attraction and instinct, and that is why this compliment feels forbidden. It is not about the perfume, it is about the reaction she creates in you. Let me make this real with an example. Imagine a man named Daniel, 57. He works in finance, lives a steady life in Arizona, and has learned over the years that most compliments sound the same. At a charity dinner, he meets a woman named Vanessa, 52. Confident, elegant, the kind of woman who carries both history and strength inside her. When she walks past him, her scent hits him soft, warm, feminine, in a way that feels grown and grounded. He doesn't blurt out something generic. He waits. Later, when they're talking alone, he says one simple line, steady and calm. "There's something about your scent. It pulls me in." She hears that, and something shifts. Not because he praised the perfume, but because he revealed the effect she had on him as a man. Women at this stage of life do not want hollow admiration. They want impact. They want to feel the difference they make without trying. And scent is one of the strongest ways a woman expresses her femininity without saying a word. When you deliver this compliment, you are telling her she affects you on a level she cannot hide behind politeness or logic. You are telling her she has a presence that lingers. That idea stays with her long after the conversation ends. It makes her replay the moment in her mind. It makes her wonder why you felt something other men didn't notice. That curiosity becomes the beginning of connection. But here is where most men get it wrong. They comment on the perfume like it's an accessory. "What are you wearing? Is that Chanel?" Wrong approach. A mature woman does not want you to name the brand. She wants you to name the impact. Women remember how you made them feel, not how accurately you identified a fragrance. Daniel understood this with Vanessa. He didn't sound needy, excited, or performative. He sounded grounded, masculine, present. And because of that, the compliment worked exactly the way it was supposed to. It made her feel desired without feeling objectified. When you say, "Your scent pulls me in," you're saying, "I notice you, I feel you, I react to you, and I'm not afraid to admit it." That is intimacy without crossing a line, and desire without being explicit. It's the kind of compliment women rarely hear, and exactly the kind they can't resist. If you've ever felt a woman's scent pull you in like this, write it in the comments with the words, I've felt that. Stick with me, because what comes next hits even deeper. Number 2. Your smile lights me up. Let's talk honestly for a moment, my friend. A grown woman has heard men compliment her smile her entire life. You have a pretty smile. Your smile is beautiful. These lines slide right off her because they focus on the surface. They don't touch anything real. They don't touch anything emotional. They don't touch anything feminine. But when you tell her that her smile lights you up, you're not describing what she looks like. You're describing what she does to you. And that is the difference between a compliment she forgets in 5 seconds and a compliment she remembers for weeks. A smile, especially a woman's smile in her 40s or 50s, carries weight. It carries history. It carries everything she has lived through: love, loss, responsibility, disappointment, healing, and the strength she had to build along the way. When she smiles, it isn't just about her lips or her teeth. It's the warmth behind it, the softness she still has, the spark that refuses to die even after everything she has seen. When you tell her her smile lights you up, you are acknowledging the life inside her. That is why this compliment feels forbidden. It isn't shallow, it's intimate. Stoics understood this clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Her smile is the color she shows the world, the brightness she reveals, even when she's tired, stressed, or carrying 1,000 things no one sees. A smile like that doesn't just show appearance, it shows inner character. It shows emotional resilience. It shows how she has shaped herself. When you tell her her smile lights you up, you're telling her that her inner strength, her inner warmth, her inner softness still have an impact. A deep one. And here is the truth most men your age completely miss. Women don't react to compliments about their features. They react to compliments about their effect. Her smile affects the room, it affects the vibe, and it affects you. When she hears you say it lights you up, she feels something she rarely feels from men: seen, felt, recognized. Not as a pretty face, not as a woman who's aging gracefully, but as a woman whose presence still changes something in a man. And pay attention to this. A woman's smile becomes different depending on the man in front of her. If she feels safe, her smile softens. If she feels drawn to you, her smile lingers. If she feels curious, her smile appears even when she tries to stay serious. That tiny flicker, that tiny moment where she forgets to hide what she feels, is what you are complimenting. When you deliver this line, it must be calm, slow, steady, masculine, no excitement, no flirting tone, no nervousness, just a man speaking the truth. A compliment like this tells her 2 things at once. 1, she affects you emotionally. 2, you're grounded enough to admit it without losing your center, and that combination is rare. Women don't hear that from men who only look at the surface. They hear it from men who pay attention to their energy, their essence, their warmth. A smile that lights you up is a smile that shakes something in your chest, a smile that makes your day shift for a second, a smile that wakes you up a little. Every woman wants to feel she still has that effect, especially at this stage of life. And that is exactly why this compliment sinks deep. If you've ever felt a woman's smile hit you in a way you couldn't explain, write it in the comments with the words, "I've felt that." Stay close, because what comes next goes even deeper. Number 3. Your realness turns me on. Let's talk straight for a minute, my friend. Realness is rare, especially today. Most people walk around wearing masks. They say what sounds good, they hide their insecurities, they pretend they're happier, calmer, or more put together than they really are. But a grown woman who has lived real life does not have time for pretending. And when you recognize her realness, when you show her that her honesty, her flaws, her depth, and her unfiltered self actually turn you on, That compliment hits her harder than anything about beauty or body ever could. Let me make this real with a scenario you've probably seen before. Picture a man named Anthony, 56. He's been through divorce, raised his kids, rebuilt his career, and learned the value of peace. He meets a woman named Lauren, 51, at a community cooking class. She's warm, grounded, and carries herself like someone who has lived through storms and come out stronger. She doesn't pretend to be perfect. She laughs at herself. She talks openly about her challenges. She mentions mistakes she's learned from. She doesn't hide her past. She owns it. And that honesty makes Anthony feel something he hasn't felt in years. One night, during a group conversation, Lauren shares a story about messing up a major project years ago and how it forced her to grow. Everyone else gives polite responses, but Anthony feels something deeper. After class, when they're washing dishes together, he looks at her and says, steady and calm, "Your realness, that's what turns me on. You don't pretend. You're just you." You want to know why that line hits so deeply? Because women in their 40s and 50s are tired of being admired for the wrong things. They're tired of being complimented on beauty, youth, or surface-level traits. They want to be valued for the woman they've become, for the depth they earned, for the honesty they had to fight for. Realness is attractive because it's intimate. It means she isn't performing. She's letting you see her without filters. And when you tell her that her realness turns you on, you're telling her that her authenticity, her lived experience, and her emotional truth make her desirable as a woman. And here's something most men don't understand. A woman's realness is not softness. A woman's realness is strength born from loss, heartbreak, rebuilding, and growth. That's why it's powerful. That's why it's sexy. That's why it turns you on. When Anthony said that to Lauren, she didn't giggle or blush like a younger woman. She paused. She breathed in. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Because he touched something inside her that few men ever bother to look for. He saw her, not her image, not her surface, but the woman she became through years of living. This is the kind of compliment a mature woman never forgets. It tells her she does not need to hide, adjust, tone things down, or pretend to be someone else. It tells her she can be fully herself and still be deeply desired. Deliver this line slow, calm, solid, masculine. No performance, no exaggeration, just truth. That's what makes it powerful. If you've ever met a woman whose honesty pulled you in, instantly write it in the comments with the words, "I've felt that." Stay with me because the next one unlocks an even deeper level of connection. Number 4. Your mind makes me want you. Let me level with you for a moment, my friend. A woman in her 40s or 50s has heard men compliment her looks for decades. She's heard men praise her body, her hair, her style, her smile. But very few men ever look deeper. Very few men ever tell her that her mind is the thing that pulls them in. And when you say it calm, steady, confident, it hits her harder than any physical compliment ever could. Because a grown woman knows one, truth beauty fades, but her mind is something she earned, shaped, sharpened, and fought for. Her mind carries her experiences. Her mind carries her perspective. Her mind carries her strength and her softness at the same time. And when you show her that her way of thinking turns you on, you're telling her that her intelligence, her insight, and her worldview affect you as a man. That is a forbidden compliment, because it's not just about attraction, it's about respect. And women crave respect from a mature man far more than flattery. Stoicism fits perfectly here. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." A mature woman's thoughts are not random. They are shaped by everything she has lived through, raising kids, losing love, rebuilding herself, fighting for peace, protecting her boundaries. When she speaks from experience, not theory. When she shares an opinion, it comes from a place of depth, not ego. That's why her mind is one of the sexiest things about her. When you tell her, "Your mind makes me want you," you're saying, "I value the way you see the world. I value the woman you became. I value the intelligence behind your softness." This is a compliment that lands deep because it acknowledges her maturity. It acknowledges the life behind her words. And it tells her that you are a man who sees her fully, not just as a body, not just as a personality, but as a mind. And here's what makes this line irresistible. A woman's mind is where her intimacy begins. If she lets you into her thoughts, she's letting you into the most vulnerable part of her. Her mind is what shapes her emotions, her decisions, her reactions, her boundaries. And when you show that this is what draws you in, she feels understood in a way younger men rarely offer. Deliver this line slowly. Smooth, grounded, masculine. Not like you're reciting poetry, not like you're trying to impress her. Just truth. You might say it after a deep conversation, after she shares something meaningful, after she reveals wisdom she doesn't offer to everyone, something as simple as, "The way you think, it makes me want you even more." Or, "You have a mind that pulls me in." I don't feel that often. When you speak like that, you create emotional and intellectual intimacy. And when a woman feels that level of connection, her attraction grows naturally, quietly, deeply, powerfully. Now, my friend, if you want to understand this kind of connection on an even deeper level, how women think, how attraction forms, and how to communicate with calm, masculine presence, this is exactly what we break down inside the private membership. That's where we go further than YouTube can ever allow. If you're serious about leveling up as a man, consider joining. If this resonated with you, write in the comments, "I want this." Stay close because what's coming next unlocks an entirely different side of attraction. Number 5. Your energy stays on my skin. Let's talk like grown men for a second, my friend. A woman's energy is one of the most powerful things about her, but most men never learn to see it, feel it, or speak to it. They focus on her looks, her outfit, her smile, yet they ignore the one thing that lingers long after she walks away. Her energy, the way she makes you feel without touching you, the way she shifts the space around you without trying. When you tell a woman that her energy stays on your skin, you're not giving her a simple compliment. You're telling her that she leaves a mark on you, that her presence affects you physically, emotionally, and quietly. And that is something women cannot resist, especially women who have lived enough life to understand what real connection feels like. Let me make this real with an example. Picture a man named Craig, 58, a calm, deliberate guy who appreciates the subtleties people overlook. He meets a woman named Elise, 53, at a wine-tasting event in Northern California. She's elegant, composed, not loud, not flashy, but the kind of woman who carries a certain stillness. When they talk, Craig notices something that surprises him. Even after she walks away to greet someone else, he still feels her energy on him. It's not sexual in an obvious way. It's deeper. It's the sense of warmth she brought into that brief moment. The way she listened, the way she moved, the calm she radiated without forcing it. Later that night, he tells her in a low, steady voice, "There's something about your energy. It stays on my skin, even after you walk away." Elise pauses, not because she's flattered, but because she feels understood. Women at this age do not want compliments about the obvious. They want compliments that recognize what makes them different from everyone else, and a woman's energy, that's earned. It comes from everything she's lived through and everything she's healed from. This is what most men forget. A woman's energy is her feminine signature. It's the softness she carries, the confidence she built, the calm she earned, the warmth she gives without meaning to. When you compliment that, you compliment the essence of who she is. You're telling her that she has a presence that lingers in ways she can't hide or fake, and that pulls her in. Craig understood this instinctively. He wasn't overexcited, and he wasn't trying to charm her. He was grounded, masculine, present. That's what made his compliment powerful, because when a man is centered in himself, he can speak to a woman's energy without sounding needy or poetic. He sounds real, and real always hits deeper. A woman's energy stays with you when it clicks with something inside you. Maybe it calms you, maybe it wakes you up, maybe it makes you feel more like yourself. Women rarely hear compliments that speak to their presence, and when they do, it creates intimacy instantly. Not physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, the kind that feels like connection rather than performance. Deliver this line slow, my friend, with intention, not intensity. You have an energy that stays on me. I don't feel that often. Or, your presence. I carry it even after you're gone. When you speak like that, she knows you're responding to her essence, not her exterior. And that is something most men never give her. If you've ever felt a woman's energy stay with you long after she left, write it in the comments with the words, "I've felt that." Stay tuned, because the next part gets even more powerful. Number 6. Your kindness is powerfully sexy. Let me be real with you for a moment, my friend. Most men don't understand what kindness actually looks like in a grown woman. They think kindness means softness, weakness, or being overly sweet. But a woman in her 40s or 50s carries a very different kind of kindness. It is not naive. It is not passive. It is not something she gives freely to everyone. Her kindness is shaped by everything she has survived. It is a strength, a discipline, a form of emotional mastery. And when you look her in the eye and tell her that her kindness is powerfully sexy, she feels it in a place words can't reach. Because here is the truth. A mature woman's kindness is not automatic. It is intentional. It is earned. It is expensive. Stoicism explains this perfectly. Seneca said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." But the Stoics also understood that kindness is not about being nice. It is about choosing calm over reaction, choosing generosity over bitterness, choosing warmth, even after life has given you 1,000 reasons to grow cold. When a woman reaches this age, and she still offers kindness, she is showing you the depth of her character. That depth is what makes her attractive in a way youth never could. And this is where your compliment hits her so deeply. You're not praising her looks. You're not flattering her ego. You're recognizing the emotional strength behind her softness. Women like her rarely hear that. People take their kindness for granted. They assume she's naturally nurturing, naturally patient, naturally considerate. They don't see the effort, the emotional discipline, or the experience behind it. But when you tell her her kindness is sexy, you're telling her you see all the layers others ignore. And believe me, my friend, women in this age group crave that kind of recognition, not for being beautiful, not for being impressive, but for being deeply feminine in a mature, grounded way. Her kindness shows in the way she listens, the way she speaks with intention, the way she handles conflict without drama, the way she comforts without losing herself, the way she supports without sacrificing her boundaries. That combination, warmth without weakness, is extremely rare and extremely attractive. When you say, "Your kindness is powerfully sexy," you're telling her that her feminine nature doesn't just exist, it moves you, it affects you, it awakens something in you. You're telling her she doesn't have to compete with younger women for attention because her strength, her character, her maturity already stand out in a way youth cannot match. Deliver this line slowly, without charm, without exaggeration, without trying to impress her. Just truth, just presence, just a man speaking from a grounded place. You have a kindness that's powerful. It's honestly one of the sexiest things about you, or the way you treat people. That's the kind of femininity that pulls me in. When you say it like that, she feels acknowledged. She feels seen. She feels valued where it matters most. And she won't forget it. If you've ever been drawn to a woman's kindness in a way you couldn't explain, drop a comment with the words, "I feel this." Let's keep going, because the next one unlocks a different kind of desire. Number 7. Your drive makes you irresistible. Let's talk straight, my friend. At this stage of life, drive is one of the most attractive things a woman can have. Not the loud kind, not the hustle for attention kind. I'm talking about the quiet, focused, built through experience drive that comes from a woman who has lived real life, a woman who has rebuilt herself, a woman who knows who she is and where she's going. When you tell her that her drive makes her irresistible, you're speaking to something far deeper than beauty. You're speaking to her identity. Let me bring this to life with a real grounded example. Imagine a man named Russell, 59. He's steady, direct, and he respects people who carry themselves with intention. At a leadership workshop for local business owners in Seattle, he meets a woman named Michelle, 54. She runs a small but successful interior design studio. Not flashy, not dramatic, just steady excellence. What stands out to Russell isn't her outfit, her makeup, or her looks. It's the way she talks about her work, the way her eyes focus when she explains a project, the way her whole presence sharpens when she discusses what she's building. That's drive, calm, competent, feminine. A kind of fire that doesn't burn loudly, but burns deeply. During a break, while the group is chatting casually, he leans closer, not invading her space, just grounding his presence, and says, "You know, your drive is something else. It's honestly what makes you irresistible." She stops, not because she's flattered, but because she's seen. A woman in her 50s doesn't need a man to praise her beauty. She's heard it. She's moved past it. What she craves is recognition for the woman she has become, the discipline, the ambition, the resilience, the purpose. And when a man notices that something inside her shifts, most men don't understand this. They try to flatter younger qualities. They focus on body clothes, attention, superficial charm. But a mature woman knows her real value sits in what she has built. Her career, her growth, her healing, her direction, her internal fire. Drive is proof of character. Drive is proof of strength. Drive is proof of feminine depth. And here's what makes this compliment powerful. You're telling her that her ambition doesn't make her intimidating, it makes her attractive. Too many women are told to tone it down, slow down, or not be too strong. But a man who appreciates her drive is a man who isn't threatened by her. He's inspired by her, and that's rare. Russell didn't say it with excitement. He didn't say it to impress her. He said it as a man who knows what he's looking at. And because of that, Michelle remembers that line long after the workshop ends. Deliver this line slowly, my friend. Grounded, centered, direct. You have a drive that's magnetic. It's one of the reasons you stand out so much. Or, the more I hear you talk about your goals, the more irresistible you become. When you speak like that, you touch a part of her identity that very few men ever acknowledge. If you've ever felt drawn to a woman because of her ambition, passion, or focus, drop a comment with the words, "I know this." Don't go anywhere, because the next part taps into something even deeper inside her. Number 8. Your warmth hits me deep. Let's get honest for a moment, my friend. Warmth is the one quality men underestimate the most in a mature woman. At 20, warmth is easy. It's untested. It's untouched by life. But at 40 or 50, warmth becomes something entirely different. It becomes layered, intentional, earned. It becomes a form of feminine strength that only shows up after a woman has lived, healed, rebuilt, and chosen softness, even when life gave her every reason to turn cold. And when you tell a woman that her warmth hits you deep, you're not complimenting politeness, you're acknowledging her essence. Most men never see this. They chase beauty, attention, flirtation, surface-level charm. But they don't notice the thing that actually stays with them when they go home at night. Her warmth. The way her presence settles your chest. The way her tone slows your mind down. The way her eyes hold something calm, alive, and quietly feminine. Her warmth is not about being sweet. It is about the emotional atmosphere she creates just by existing. Stoicism explains this beautifully. Epictetus said, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them." Warmth is a view, an internal stance toward life. It is the choice to respond with compassion instead of resentment. It is the decision to stay open when it would be easier to shut down. A woman at this stage has seen enough of life to know how to guard herself, so if she still radiates warmth, she is showing you mastery, not fragility. That's why this compliment cuts deeper than anything about beauty. You're recognizing the strength beneath her softness. You're acknowledging the emotional maturity she fought for. When a woman hears that her warmth hits you deep, she feels appreciated for the woman she is today, not the girl she used to be, not the image she presents, but the inner feminine energy she carries. Her warmth shows up in the smallest moments, in the way she listens without interrupting, in the way she looks at you as if you matter, in the way she speaks with intention, not noise, in how she offers steadiness instead of drama, in how she notices the small things men often miss. And here's the part most men don't understand. Warmth is one of the rarest, most masculine triggering qualities a woman can have. When a woman is warm, a man naturally becomes more grounded, more centered, more himself. Her warmth awakens a part of him that has been numb for years. You're not complimenting behavior, you're complimenting impact. When you say, "Your warmth hits me deep," you're telling her, "I feel you. I respond to you. You affect me in a way most people don't." And that stays with her. Because women in their 40s and 50s often fear that the world no longer sees their feminine depth. They fear becoming invisible. They fear their softness doesn't matter anymore. But when a man recognizes that warmth, and not only recognizes it but is moved by it, she feels valued in a way she hasn't felt in a long time. Deliver this line slowly. Grounded, aware, solid. Something like, "There's a warmth in you that hits me deeper than you know," or, "The way you carry yourself, it settles something in me." Say it without charm, without performance, without rushing, just truth. Because her warmth is not surface level. It's a story. It's a journey. It's a quiet form of femininity only life can shape. And when you speak to it, you speak to the heart of who she has become. If you've ever felt a woman's warmth sink into you in a way you couldn't explain, drop a comment with the words, "I feel this." Let's keep going because the next part brings all of this together in a powerful way. Number 9. Your presence changes me. Let me talk to you straight, my friend. A woman's presence is one of the deepest forms of feminine power, but most men never learn to recognize it. They get distracted by looks, by charm, by the obvious. But the truth is this: when you're around a grown woman whose presence hits you, you feel it in your breath, your chest, your posture, and your mindset. She doesn't have to flirt. She doesn't have to touch you. She doesn't have to try. Her presence alone shifts something in you. And when you tell her, "Your presence changes me," that compliment lands in a place nothing superficial can reach. Let me make this real with a situation you've probably seen in your own life. Picture a man named Mark, 58. Divorced, stable, grounded, the kind of man who doesn't get shaken easily. He meets a woman named Dana, 53, at a small business networking event in Denver. She's not the loudest person in the room. She's not trying to impress anyone. But something about her presence cuts through the noise. The way she stands, the calm in her eyes, the softness she carries without losing her strength. It's not dramatic, it's not showy, it's steady, feminine, centered. When they talk, Mark feels something he hasn't felt in years. His breathing slows, his shoulders drop, his thoughts get clearer. It's like she grounds him without even touching him. After their conversation, he walks away, realizing something simple. Her presence changed his energy. Not because she said anything magical, not because she was trying to be charming, but because the woman she has become carries a different kind of weight, emotional weight, feminine weight, the kind of presence only life experience can create. The following week, during a quieter moment, he looks at her and says, "I don't know if you realize this, but your presence, it changes me, in the best way." Dana doesn't blush, she doesn't giggle, she doesn't act surprised. She pauses, breathes in, and really hears it. Because at 53, that's the kind of compliment she doesn't get anymore. Not about beauty, not about youth, but about her impact as a woman. And here is what makes this line powerful: a woman's presence is the result of decades of shaping herself. Her boundaries, her calm, her emotional intelligence, her strength, her softness, her healing, all of that becomes the atmosphere she carries. And when you tell her her presence changes you, you're acknowledging not what she looks like, but who she is. Most men never see it. They rush, they judge, they talk too much, they never slow down